And the other thing I wanted to quote up to you guys was this. It was a quote by Pablo Picasso. So I initially wanted to do this in the beginning of the season. The way that I wanted to have it structured was we were going to get into all of these different formations and then the nuances of those. And then at the very end, I was going to basically tell you, fuck it all. Right. And so what I wanted to do in the beginning was I wanted to say, learn the rules like a pro so you could break them like an artist. This was the quote, right? Because at the very end of the course is something called rule breaking. It's rule breaking. It's like, you know, and you guys have, I've explained a semblance of this where it's like, oh, our first man is like completely winning in his position. Fuck the rules. Don't play like a losing. Don't play passive. Right up your teammate's ass. You know what I mean? And that's a little bit of the rule breaking part. So we'll get it more into that later as far as how to be able to get into the rules. But this is more or less like we're really trying to stick by those rules. And then at the very end, we kind of break structure. And it's a lot like if you guys have seen Your Lie in April. I don't know if you guys have seen the show. Maybe once. If you guys haven't, I haven't got any ums and ahs yet on that. So I'm guessing it's a big no.
It's incredible.
That fucking show was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. But you guys know what I'm talking about. It was like he was so stuck to the musical piece that he was just following the notes and that was it. But then he started to get the emotional part of it, right? Initially, where he had some of his own character arc of what he was dealing with was his mom. He was so stuck to the piece. It was so unbelievably mechanical that eventually his mentor told him, you could honestly say fuck the mechanics of it. You could just, because you have the technical skill to do so, you could just be able to follow the piece, but then you can add your own emotional tone to it. Because you've been allowing your own emotional landscape where whenever basically, if you guys haven't seen the show, I'm not going to spoil anything. You guys should see it, even if you think it's a fucking anime and it's kind of corny. It's a beautiful story. Jay, I don't know if you'll ever fucking watch it. You're much older. You probably think it's gay as shit, but I got to tell you, dude, it's fucking badass. I'm 25 and kind of makes me look like a bitch, but I was crying. I'm not going to lie. But
what was the show?
It's called Your Lie in April.
Your Lie in April.
Your Lie in April. Like beyond S tier. Like it's not like a romance show. It's just a tearjerker. I don't know what to call it. You know.
It's a slight romance.
Yeah. Yeah. But so basically, his problem was what he was dealing with his situations with his mom. You find out really early, like right after the beginning of the show. His mom was terminally ill and she ended up passing away, and so anytime he played piano he thought of his mom and he thought of the memories of his mom, and so his emotional landscape would take over and he would just he would lose it and he couldn't play piano. He would just choke. And so his mentor ends up later telling him like, hey, you're letting this you can let that fuel you. You've been letting your emotional landscape take over this whole time and you don't even know it. But she goes, but that's the beauty of it. The fact that you can't hear the notes is the beauty of what your mom gave you. And so what I'm trying to give you guys is basically an essence of that, which is, here are the rules. Here's how to play the piece, the piano piece of Rocket League. Here's how to play it, right? And at the very end, you guys know the rules and you gather the technical skill enough that you could just allow the creativity to then take over because it's so natural for you to be able to follow those rules and to follow what you're doing that you can allow yourself to break rules here and there and then add your own form into it. And there begins the art. And then that's what makes it fun. And again, that's a very difficult to do when you have it's not so difficult to do when you have some conformity and how people play, because then you could kind of understand and see the patterns like I did, you know, because that's when I grew the most, is when I was in my tournaments, because I got to see how people played. And when I was exposed to that, I could see, oh, okay, maybe I need to play a little bit closer. I need to play a little bit farther back, something like that. Until eventually I kind of got a gauge and I understood more or less what I needed to do in those positions. And I got it down and then started refining it more and more until eventually it just became the guide that it is today. So that's what I wanted to do with my course was in Rocket League, at least in the NA portion of it, was to provide that musical piece and say, follow the fucking notes. And at the very end, you let your emotional landscape take over. You allow your own artistry to take over. And then you guys just do what you want as players, because it's a heavy balance of, as a player, you don't want to feel jailed to the point where you're not able to feel like you want to do things. You need to do things you want to do, right? Because you're like, whoa, my vision, it's a part of trust. What's up? It's just allowing the art form to take over. And so, you know, it's tough at first because you guys are still basically getting the fundamentals down, but eventually I do want you to not feel so jailed by the rules of what I have, and for you to basically go, I want you to just understand the implications of certain decisions that you make. And then by virtue of understanding what those implications are, and you follow certain decisions and certain patterns, like for example, if you're in a position like this and you decide to always go for it, that's pretty aggressive, right? Or maybe you're someone that really likes to trust his teammate in the corner and you're going to play ultra aggressive, right? Something like this, that's a tendency. And through that tendency creates a style of play. But you don't need to force a style. You don't do it. You just allow it to come through, but naturally. So at first it feels like a constriction because I'm like, no, you gotta fucking do it like this. And then eventually I kind of cut away that stuff and I go, okay, well, you understand what you need to do in this position, but you're gonna do it like this. It's like, okay, go ahead. Just understand if you go and it ends up being that position, you lose it in that way, you're gonna suffer the consequences for that particular position. Like if you push up too far forward and you happen to lose this Achilles heel is that you have to come around like this and then do it. And then most of the time you're not going to be able to do that. Maybe they come in like tight like this, you're going to get 50'd, or it's just really difficult. You're going to be biting on a rock, versus if you played so far back, which is what Turbo Pulsa did. He had a tendency to do this, and he would allow these guys to just have free reign all in the midfield. And if it dropped back like this, he would just, if it came to him, it came to him. But if not, they would take possession and he would just mark forward and not feel rushed at all. So a lot of you guys have this aggressive tendency because most of you just fucking play twos. And, I gotta, what's the word? Wean you off. I gotta wean you off of this and understand the decision of coming sideline versus midfield. And then once we get that, it starts to develop a tendency where you guys can kind of do both. And once you be able to understand that, I feel like it unlocks a whole new dimension of Rocket League. That's just one such example, but